So I was commissioned with a colleague, Helen Berry, to do a piece of research looking at enthusiastic consent. So thinking about consent not in terms of a lack of consent, but thinking about what consent looks like, sexual consent looks like when it goes well. And I was really interested in the topic, but was also didn't want to do it without involving young people. Just felt like it was one of those topics. I mean, I kind of never want to do any research without involving young people, but it was one of those typical topics that I particularly thought was important. So we were commissioned to do the research, really small bit of research, and we looked at how we could involve young people, thought that the best way we could do that was with the youth advisory group.
I mean, I've been involved in groups to do with the same sort of topic with Christina before, so I feel like it was kind of natural that I would be involved in this one if she was looking for people that she'd already known. So I got involved through that, which was obviously interesting for me because I'm already interested in the topic and I've done some work with it before. So that's kind of where I came in.
I mean, my situation was kind of similar to Catherine's, where I had been involved in similar groups to do with maybe that topic. So when you got in touch, I was like, yeah, let's do it, because I already had like opinions on the subject. And yeah, I just thought it was really interesting that you guys were trying to spin kind of like trying to research consent and bring it to young people in a like positive way, because consent can have negative connotations.
I think it was really useful for Helen and I to have you involved right at the beginning, particularly in terms of thinking about how we approach those focus groups and helping us think through how to communicate about consent before we did the focus groups. So you guys were involved in two different phases, I think, in the original research. So you were involved in the helping us think through the focus groups, think through what questions we should ask young people, think through what language we should ask, and then Helen and I went off and did the research. So you weren't actually involved in the kind of collecting the information, but then you were involved afterwards. You were involved in helping us think through what everything meant, everything that we've learned. And that was really useful too. And I think Catherine, I don't think Mayada was able to come, but Catherine, you came along for a meeting with commissioners with us afterwards, so with the NHS. Do you remember anything about that meeting?
Yeah, but I remember all the sort of analysis and things like that, because I feel like it really helped that like me and Mayada have been involved with groups like this before, so it means that so we could like jump straight into it and know like when to say things like about like the wording of sentences and stuff like that.
I think you're absolutely right about the like it would have been really difficult from my perspective, maybe you think something different, but I think it would have been really difficult for you to take part in this research if you hadn't been involved in other participation projects earlier. I don't know, Mayada, what do you think about that?
Yeah, I agree. I mean, I feel like us having that sort of like background, like relationship with you, and already kind of being used to where we give our opinions and talk about things and we're like comfortable with you. So yeah, I think that did help.
Mm-hmm. And for me, maybe particularly because of the topic as well, because it was related to sexual consent and we were talking about some pretty complicated but also some quite personal things, and also things that maybe, you know, there were times when we were having conversations about things that maybe were quite difficult for people.
I feel like we, like, not only because we have like a background in that where we're able to, and a background with you, we're able to do that, but I feel like also because we've been in a room where we've had to speak in front of adults or to adults about things like that before, or just sort of in a setting where like you don't always discuss things with adults, but obviously we have a background with that and we're kind of used to that. But obviously we were also talking about personal experience or experiences of our friends and things like that, and with a topic like consent, obviously that can be touchy sometimes, and in a room full of people you don't know, adults you don't know, I guess it can be daunting for other people. Not that it's not still daunting a little bit for us, but definitely if you just get a random group of young people, you'd have to sort of ice break, like all these things.
Mm-hmm. So then kind of about a bit more than a year passed, and then one of the commissioners from NHS Glasgow, Greater Glasgow and Clyde, got back in touch with me and said that they were still doing some work about the research, and they really now thought it would be useful to have a version of the report, a version of the research report that we wrote that was aimed at young people. And would I be interested in doing that? So I kind of said, yeah, sure, I'd be interested in doing that, but I think that we should involve the young advisors that we had involved in the original piece of work, especially because this is something that's aimed at young people. We really want to make sure that it makes sense for young people, that it's accessible. Do you want to say anything about that process, what that was like? Especially because that was online, right, as well, so that makes it quite different.
Like, obviously we've done things for young people before, but I don't think I've done it in that sort of way when it's still been sort of reported like that. We've done it while it's happening. Usually we make all these recommendations and then we see it like kind of when it's almost right at the end, but that felt quite like we were involved like the entire time, which was quite nice.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Were you pleased with the final report?
Yeah, it looks cool.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Do you think it would have been different if you guys hadn't been involved in doing it?
Obviously it would have been different because of, like, we wouldn't have been involved, but I feel like lots of little things that we pointed out definitely do make a difference. Like, you might not notice it straight away, but I feel like when you go back and look at it, you're like, okay, yeah, that's much better that we chose to do that, like, or that sort of color, or even like little things like the way we word things, or the length of things, deciding that we were going to put this many quotes or picking the quotes out.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. I think it would have been completely different, actually. I think that you know, I've been working with young people for a long time, and I like to think that I can write things in a fairly clear manner, but actually so often when I write things and then you guys are like, no, that needs to be shorter, or what does that mean, or, you know, some people might not know what that means, and I actually think we were a really good team working together on this bit of work. It really did feel like we were all kind of working very much together and kind of creating something together, actually. Do you think it is important that young people are involved in bits of research like this? And if so, why is that important?
100%. I feel like young people can give a perspective that is like unique, and especially young people from different cultures and backgrounds, they can just kind of see it in the way that maybe adults not. And like times are changing quite fast, so just like in like schools and colleges, there's like firsthand, I think they differ from what it could have been like maybe like 20 years ago or whatever. So yeah, I think it's invaluable.
Yeah, I really appreciate what you say about young people from different cultures as well, and I think you brought a lot of your cultural background and experience to the research.
Well, I feel like it was nice to see that the report that we had helped sort of get the findings for was then being like carried on and then shared with young people. So it was sort of like, okay, yeah, like we're seeing this actually proceed on to something else, or like something that's actually going to be used or useful. And obviously now I'm still involved in what the research is kind of moving on to be helped with. And so that's nice to see it actually taking a journey in a positive direction.
And I suppose that then leads on to one of the other things that I've been thinking about, which is about payment. You know, we get paid in money to be researchers, to be the researchers who are leading the project, and you guys get paid in vouchers. And I just kind of wonder how you feel about that, and whether that feels okay, or whether that feels like you're kind of not equal in the process.
Involved in like bits and pieces of the research, so I don't know if it would make sense for us to be paid the same amount as you, or like paid in like money and not vouchers, because you guys are like deeply involved in every single part of the process. So yeah, and also like we like when we first started Young and Brash, and we never got like paid, so for us to kind of be like moving up, like I'm happy about it. Like it's not something that happened before, now it is, and I'm not like feeling like greedy or whatever. Like I feel like it would feel greedy to me, you know. Like I'm very happy with vouchers, and like, I feel like valued, and also honestly that's the most important thing. Like I'm not here for the money. Even though it's like nice to know that like you guys are like actively thinking about it and being like, you're like, like we want to make them feel like as equals. Are we doing this correctly? Let's speak to them.
Well, like it's nice to be valued, and it's so nice to be valued, but then if we're valued, then should we not see that value come back to us? Even though I agree with my ad, I feel like it is sort of like, when you think about it like a lot, like I'm completely happy, but that's because I'm really interested and I care about where the topics and the research goes. Like I'm like emotionally invested, like, yeah. And so like it's rewarding for me, but I guess not all young people see it, and that might be the reason that some other young people would get involved, and then they would get to the same level I am, but they might just need that different sort of thing to entice them to get involved into it.
I do my job not just because I get paid, right? I do my job because I love it, because I am committed to it, because I enjoy research. And yet I probably wouldn't do it if I didn't get paid, right? So I think there is an element of both are possible, but at the moment it's tricky to, not impossible, and some projects manage to do it, but it can be really tricky to pay young people in cash.